Hi, good morning to all of you. Today we are going to learn about how to access CCTV camera within 10 kilometers of the transmission and how we can replicate the data. We have designed this presentation specifically for Hikvision products, and the first and the foremost thing which we need to understand is the basics of camera networking. Main objectives which we have is how to set the DVR IP address. Second thing what we are going to discuss is the DVR subnet mask and the DVR default gateway. Lastly, DHCP, which stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. See, the first thing what we see is a DVR IP address, and it all depends upon the modem or the router which we have connected DVR with. If there's no router or modem connected with it, then we have to explicitly mention the IP address, subnet mask and the default gateway. One thing we need to understand is if the IP address is 192.168.1.64, that means that 1.64 it always has to be same on the default gateway. It has to be 192.168.1.1. So up to first three levels the IP address and the default gateway is same. The last digit of the default gateway should always be 1, and here in IP address the same thing can range from 2 to 255, and the subnet mask is always constant. It's always 255.255.255.0, and if you enable DHCP, then router is automatically bound to assign an IP address to the DVR. Then we go to the next phase. That's the basic diagram of transmission. See, here we have 4 cameras which are analog cameras connected to the DVR. DVR is connected with the power supply as well, and once it is turned on, we have set the IP address, default gateway and the subnet mask. We connect the DVR through the LAN cable to an access point which is called a CPE. Its transmission range can be 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers at maximum, but you have to raise it from the ground up to at least 15 to 20 feet, because there should be no snag in between, there should be no hindrance in between to the receiving station. And on the other hand, 5 kilometers apart we have one more tower which is a CPE, but that's a client that's receiving signals from the DVR. Once it receives the signals from the DVR, it's again connected with the LAN cable to the NVR. We have a network recorder on the other end, and once we place the IP address of this DVR into the NVR and we start searching, it will automatically prompt us for accessing the cameras. All cameras which are connected with the DVR will get an access here to the NVR, and we have an option to import all 4 or few of them. They can be imported here in the NVR, and then we can connect it to the display and we'll have the display. Plus there's one more option. We can fix up a hard drive in the DVR as well as the NVR, so that the feed which is coming at both the places, that feed can be stored at both the places. So this is a kind of replication of data. Then in the next slide we have some more replication of data. It's more advanced. This slide is a basic diagram and this is the advanced diagram. Here we have one DVR is connected to the 4-channel camera, and the other DVR is connected with the 8 cameras. The other one is connected with 16 cameras. So overall there are 16 plus 4, 20 plus 8, 28 analog cameras which are connected to the 3 DVRs which are placed at 3 different locations. But we need one command center which will have feed of all the cameras with the storage. So we can fix up different hard drives in different DVRs for the storage. That can be done. 4 cameras can be stored in DVR 1 with 1 terabytes of hard drive, 8 cameras with 2 terabytes of hard drive, even 16 with 2 terabytes of hard drive. So all these cameras, first 4 cameras can be stored in DVR 1, the other 8 cameras in DVR 2, and the 16s in DVR 3. They are stored at 3 different locations. They can be displayed at 3 different locations. But what if all 3 sites belong to the same person who wants to see it in a control center? So what we do is, then we connect one CP access point with one DVR. We have to lift it above the ground, 20 feet above the ground with a tower, and the second one same way, third one same way. but all should be directed towards the control center, which has to be 5 to 10 kilometers away. But on the control center, the diagram is a little bit complex. We need to connect a 32 channel NVR with an 8 channel gigabit switch. There is a difference between a normal switch and a gigabit switch. Gigabit switch transmission is around 1000 megabits per second, and a normal switch 100 megabits per second. So when a feed is more, there are 28 cameras which are getting transmitted through 3 different towers and through one switch only. So 32 different cameras along with 4 IP cameras which we have connected here. These are 4 IP cameras also. 4 IP cameras are connected to 4 ports of the gigabit switch, and 3 towers to 3 what's called uh, 3 ports are connected to the 3 different access points of 3 towers, and one is connected with the NVR as well. Gigabit switch has more transmission, 1000 megabits per second. One thing we need to understand is if LAN cable is a little longer, then you need to have a switch after every 100 meters. Once this switch is connected with the NVR as well on one of the ports, then into the NVR we can feed 3 different IP addresses of 3 DVRs and IP addresses of these 4 IP cameras. So overall we need to feed 7 IP addresses into the NVR, or it can automatically search these IP addresses. If it is connected, then we can import all cameras. So 32 channel NVR can have 32 cameras, 4 from DVR1, 8 from DVR2, 16 from DVR3, and 4 isolated IP cameras. And if there is a PoE switch in between, these IP cameras need not to be given an external power. They will take power from the PoE switch, and maximum transmission for power is around 250 meters. So after that we get a feed of 32 cameras into the NVR, and we can fix up a bigger capacity hard drive into the NVR for the storage of all these cameras. Plus, if we connect this NVR with the internet, then we can have an online transmission storage of all 32 cameras from here. Then one more thing we need to understand is the kind of coding we need to do in a LAN. Whenever we have like devices, the coding will remain different. The coding will remain cross. If there are unlike devices, there would be a straight type of coding. Standard coding, global standard coding for LAN cables is B-type coding. The first thing which we see here is LAN coding, B-type coding. It's also called as straight coding. Here on both ends of the cable we need to follow the same coding. There are 8 wires which we need to put in an RJ45 connector, and all these are coded properly. You see the color codings here. First we follow the same B coding: white, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, and brown. The same is followed on the other end: white, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, orange, white, brown, and brown. So this is a kind of coding, T-568B coding, which we follow at both the ends in a straight. You need to remember one thing, that straight coding is only possible when we have unlike devices like switch and a router, tower and a DVR. But if there are like devices like switch and switch, router and router, then we need to follow a cross coding technique. Cross coding technique is like this: on one end we follow a B type coding, on the other end we follow A type of coding. One thing you need to remember is in B coding, the first is always the sixth in A, first is always 3 in A, 2 of B is always 6 in A, and 6 is 2. 1 is 2, sorry, 1 is 1 is 1 is always 3, 2 is always 6, and 3 is always 1, and 6 is always 2. So 4, 5, 7, 8 will remain same on both the ends. And that's how we do the crossover coding. But one thing we always need to remember is whenever we go for straight coding or crossover coding, the LAN cable should not extend 100 meters. If it is more than 100 meters, you have to have a switch in between with the power. Then the amplification can be done, otherwise there would be a loss of signal and you not get the feed at the receiving end. Thank you very much.